Hey guys, Walter with the Black Film Guild again. I have my laptop here, and leading up to my course coming up with the Oakland Public Library, I'm going to be doing some kind of Q&A, answering questions that people have asked on some of my previous videos. I'm going to just answer some of those questions really quickly leading up to the course, which is on December 8th from 11 to 12 at the Oakland Public Library. Information is in the description below. I hope to see you guys there, but I'm going to be going over them really quickly. And I'll go over them further in more detail at the class. So the first question I have here is, let's see here. Can you talk about aperture, shutter speed, and ISO? I'm still confused. All right, so this is like kind of the basis of what I plan on talking about during the course on the 8th. So what you can expect when you leave the course is you're going to be able to understand all three of those very, very clearly, very, very good, where it's not like you are just trying to memorize it or understand how to talk about it, but you're actually going to understand what you're doing and how that's going to manipulate the photo or video that you're doing. So this is going to be really brief. In the class, I'm going to go in way more detail. So with the ISO, just think about it as the sensitivity of the sensor, right? So if you increase the ISO number, let's say 800 to 1200 or 1600, the sensor is going to be more sensitive and it's going to be brighter in a sense. And I'll talk about that more. Brighter is not the proper terminology, but I'll talk in detail about that more. I think brighter is a way that the average person can kind of understand, because we understand bright and dark. So that's the basis of that. Just think of ISO being the sensitivity of the sensor, and it has to do with how bright or how dark that is. I'm going to go into the differences of using the ISO and how that can change the picture and dealing with things like noise in the class, but just know that for right now, that's the basis of that. The next one, which is shutter speed, think about that as the sharpness of the image, right? Mainly with video, you want to double the frame rate, but just think about in photos, it's going to be the sharpness of the image. So if you're doing somebody sprinting or running, you're going to want to use a high shutter speed. If you have somebody you want more of a dreamy effect, or they're more stationary, you can cut down that shutter speed with photography, and then you can also create more like a dreamlike atmosphere. So it has to do with depending on whether or not it is photography or video, it's going to be different. But just know it's going to have to do with the sharpness of the image. Sharper, higher shutter speed, more blurred, motion blur is going to be a lower shutter speed. And then the third one was, what was the third one again? It was the aperture. I talked a little bit about that before. So the aperture has to do with the amount of light let in. So think about like a little hole inside the lens. The aperture is going to let you know how much light that's going to actually hit the sensor. So the wider aperture has a lower number. So if it's 2.8, which is a lower number in our decimal system, that means it's going to be very wide open. This is where a lot of people get confused. So 2.8, 4.5, 5.6, 8, 11, you get the idea. So the higher the number, the smaller the hole, the less light, and that's going to have to do with how much light's touching the sensor. It's also going to have to do a little bit with the depth of field, which is going to be more that cinematic look. That's why your higher aperture or your more shallow depth of field lenses tend to be more expensive and tend to be more in demand in a lot of ways, especially this day and age. So real quick, that's a real quick example of those three things. That's not how much detail I'm going to be giving in the class. It's going to be way more thorough. And like I said, when you leave the class, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to understand those three things very, very clearly. I'm going to give a little bit of homework so you can study to make sure you get everything very well. But with those three things, I think that's a little bit of information. And I hope to see you guys at the class on the 8th. Until then, see you guys later.